Last week I had many articles which I could do for my Monday night stream, and I chose decided to divide them, and that is why I'm doing this stream tonight. I chose the Today we're going to look at Neanderthal's use of fire to make tools. I'm going to share, and we're going to talk about a find that was excavated in Italy, in Tuscany to be more precise. So just say how are you, bearing cab, mate? Let's get on with the article. Going to share. There's a video as well. I'll stop and show you guys the video after, more or less, when I find it apt. It has no sound though, but I fixed Monday's sound problem. It was my fault. It wasn't my computer. I'm a moron sometimes. So let's share the screen, and so everyone can have a look at the article which I'm about to read. It comes from Ars Technica, and it's entitled, as I said, Neanderthals used fire to make tools. They weren't the only ones, but that's another story. Yeah. Neanderthals in Tuscany charred wooden tools with fire in order to shape them. Correct. Here's an example. I'll enlarge it. Does it show if I can enlarge it? Yeah, there we go. You can see it on the right hand side, an archaeologist's trowel. Trowel, that's where we used to scrape, and a ruler. It's not that big. I'm going to show the video now. There's no sound. Unfortunately, on the video, as you guys can see, I'll remove the sound. There's no sound of the video, but the video is like that. Just make it much better. Advertisings. So you can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sticks. They are basically digging sticks, and I'll explain in the article what they are. I'll stop it here because I don't want to get into trouble for copyright. A collection of broken wooden tools unearthed in southern Italy offers new evidence that Neanderthals used fire to shape wooden tools, as early as the Middle Pleistocene, around 171,000 years ago. The find sheds important new light in the earliest use of fire and reveals how sophisticated Neanderthal technology was. The tools, called digging sticks, are still in use today. They don't mean these wooden digging sticks, they mean the tools, the digging sticks, and they're correct. And I'll get to that later. Now, if you're a hunter-gatherer, the digging sticks is a version of the Swiss Army knife for foraging. Yes, they are. They are used for a lot of things. For example, digging up roots, edible roots. You can use them. You could have used them before we have metal implements, the garden, the spade, the garden hoe, etc., to dig up the dirt and dig up things. But before that, they had these digging sticks, and they could dig up burrowing animals. They weren't too deep into the soil. You could dig up vegetables, etc. And in the unlikely event, because the people, when they forage in groups, so in an unlikely event they were attacked by an animal, they could sort of use them to defend themselves. It's about 1 meter long, with one end rounded to offer a handle and the other end tapered into a blunt, almost point. Exactly, they were never very pointy because they would wear out as they were used. They were useful for digging up roots, as I said, and tubers, hunting burrowing animals, and pounding and grinding herbs. Yes, they could use the rounded bit, as you can see from here, this rounded bit, to pound and dig up grinding herbs. And the Neanderthals of the Middle Pleistocene Italy created and used digging sticks that would be perfectly familiar in modern members of, for example, the Australian Bindibu people, the Hasda people of Tanzania, and the San people of Southern Africa. So yes, they would be. And there was a book that I read when I was studying archaeology, from Stephen J. Gould. He lived among the Australian Aborigines. I don't remember if they were the Bindibu people, but he studied how the foragers would dig up quickly edible roots and tubers, etc., etc. So yes. Now, wood is a popular material for tools in modern hunter-gathering societies. Yes, they are, mostly because they are readily available, easy to work with, and archaeologists assumed early humans, including Neanderthals, must have used them as well. Now, I would say even earlier humans. I would even say, due to comparative archaeology, that the Pan troglodytes, or the common chimpanzees, bonobos, etc., use wooden tools. They have been observed in the wild using and fashioning wooden tools. So I would expect at least some of the Australopithecines, for example, Afarensis and Africanus, to have used sticks before they would later use, with H. habilis, stone tools, if H. habilis was the first hominin to produce stone tools. The older one assemblage, the older one tool set, they are the oldest ones. They come from Olduvai Gorge in East Africa. Tanzania, if I'm not mistaken, Tanzania or Kenya or Uganda. I'm not looking at it now. So. So long before the earliest preserved, it could be supposed that simple tools or bone objects were the first artifacts created and used by early human ancestors. Yes, they were. Long before easier preserved artifacts, stone tools, for example. Archaeologist Bianca Maria Arugoren, I think that's how you pronounce it. Arugoren. Doesn't sound, yeah. But we have much actual evidence of how early humans used wood, because unlike stone and bone, we don't have much evidence how early humans used wood, because stone tools or bone and wood, unlike stone. Oh, sorry about that. I'll read it again. Unlike stone or bone, wood tends to decay after a period of time. Depends on the area where it falls. Acidic conditions decayed quicker. Damp conditions, alkaline conditions preserve it, etc., etc. There is a range of conditions that can lead to wood being preserved longer or shorter. So when we find, so that makes this new find so rare. Yes, this is incredible, in my opinion. 171,000-year-old wooden artifacts. Just that find itself, besides what anything else, is just mind-boggling. I am excited. This is awesome, in my opinion. The site is archaeologists unearthed pieces of several wooden digging sticks from a site in Tuscany called Poggetti Vecchi. Old Poggetti, to the non-Italian people out there. Giovanna would know, yes. So This site is a plain at the foot of a low hill near some warm springs. 171,000 years ago, you had grasslands, marshes surrounding the shore of a lake there. Here, according to lake sediments and pollen analysis, these grasslands were home to large grazing mammals, including the straight-tusked elephant known to science as Paleolaxodon antiquus, which the bones litter the site. So we can assume, because many bones litter the site, and the presence of Neanderthal is found there, that the Neanderthals hunted these mammals. So that is, they will hopefully find other evidence for what I've just said, apart from the wooden digging sticks. Now, artifacts here date from a period where Neanderthals roamed the hills of southern Italy. Archaeologists excavating the site in 2012 found 39 broken pieces of the sticks, along with the assortment of stone tools. This article does not talk about the stone tools. Just having a drink, sorry. Because it's mainly concentrated on the extremely rare find of preserved wooden artifacts from this time period. They will have obviously produced study on the stone tools that they found and all other material, not just stone tools. When archaeologists excavate a site, they don't just, unlike in the mid-19th century, where they just looked at the major finds, for example, bones, or actual the stone tools, and disregarded everything. Now we are meticulous. We take samples to find out, like they know from taking samples that the lake sediments and pollen analysis of the sediments, that we can recreate the environment of that time, etc. And we are much more meticulous in our handling of the data, that, and actually the gathering of the data, not just handling it. The gathering of the data is much more precise today, which is a very good thing, because we can basically reconstruct the lifestyle with all the data that we can, as to quite a good extent. Not perfectly, obviously, but to quite a good detailed extent. So only four had 4 pointed tips, 6 rounded handles survived, along with 31 pieces of shafts. 4 of the handles and all of the tips had been broken during the tool's lifetimes, and that's why they found them. The user broke it, possibly digging up something or whatever, and just discarded it. They're easy to make, digging sticks, which we will discuss how they were made. So the digging sticks were not well preserved. The microscopy. I can never pronounce that word. Really gets to me. Microscopy shows that the bacteria had eaten away at the cell walls of the wood, for instance. And the poor preservation, of course, is better than no preservation. And the wooden sticks, the broken bits of wood, have plenty to tell archaeologists. Yes, they are. It is incredible that they could actually find the walls of these digging sticks, because of the bacterial attack and all of the rest of the non-preservational. Everything attacks organic matter, basically. There are very few conditions. I'll let you know later, John. Hope my laugh tells you a lot. There is a very restrictive conditions where organic matter survives. One of them is an alkaline environment. Anything acidic just eats away, but an alkaline conditionings, preserve organic material. That is found, for example, just give you guys an example again, but the bogs in northern Western Europe, where they found those bog burials. The people that were buried there, they were preserved from Neolithic periods, or even Bronze Age time, Celtic time, even just pre-Roman times. They were preserved in these bogs, marshes, etc., because the conditions there are alkalinic. Sorry for my I can't get the words right, but they preserve organic material much better. I don't know how what conditions, the actual conditions where they found these wooden artifacts, but man, they will have to be really good conditions for them to survive. So the cell walls would be very of the actual walls of the digging sticks would have been really thin and very fragile. Now, what did they find? Okay, they were shaped by fire, as the title says. Researchers noticed that one of the digging sticks had a 1 millimeter thick layer of black film on its shaft. Now, 1 millimeter thick is quite that. It's pure carbon, by the way, black film. I'm getting ahead of myself. And the surface was fractured in a square-like pattern reminiscent of charring. Now, they chemically tested it, and chemical testing revealed that the wood had in fact been charred, and so had 11 of the other finds. This must have been deliberate, because they were all charred evenly with a thin film, and on the same part of the stick. That implies careful, controlled exposure of the flame. So they were basically, the Neanderthals were basically using fire to shape them, maybe to harden the tip, because what I think where they found them were possibly the lower parts where it would need to be strengthened, because if you char wood, if you heat it up and char it, you can actually make it stronger. So it would be more resistant to wear and tear. The points would become more resilient to use, even though they found that they were all broken, the ones that they found there. And so they would leave a thin film of basically carbon. That's possibly why they survived so well, because they had that thin film of carbon protecting them from decay. Archaeologists said that Neanderthals probably used fire to char the surface of the wood to make it easy to scrape off the bark and shape the wood. Yes, boxwood was one of the strongest European hardwoods, which makes it perfect for a durable tool like the digging stick. That's what they were all made of, boxwood. But it is also hard to whittle into shape with stone tools. Remember, they were not using metallic tools as we do. They were using flint blades and scrapers and burins, etc. Burins are just like a chisel type tool but Neanderthals didn't have these tools. They had bifacial flakes, blades, etc. from the Acheulean technology. Masturian technology, and they even though they were quite complex, they were still not as they were still not as complex or specialized as later technologies would come in the guise of sapiens. But they still managed then to scrape with their stone tools. But they used fire, of course. The fire would have softened the outer layer and made it easier to work. When Aranguren and her colleagues tried working some boxwood branches, that's called experimental archaeologist. When you try to reproduce what you find, they found that they couldn't shape the rounded handles with blunt points without charring the wood first. So, of course not. Now, modern hunter-gatherers use the same method today. Yes, they do. But we have never found evidence of the technique being used so early. So, yes, this is a first. This pushes back the time of the shaping of wooden artifacts with fire to about 171,000 years, which is awesome now. But some archaeologists think that H. heidelbergensis is the ancestor of Neanderthals and us, sapiens. This is me speaking now. This is my assertion, and I am backing this assertion. I will, if they ever do bring link the two, that H. heidelbergensis were the common ancestor of H. neanderthalensis, H. sapiens neanderthalensis, and H. sapiens sapiens, I will demand credit. I will demand credit because I am leaving this as a record of my assertion. It'll just need to be proven. I can't prove it, but someone will. Someone will. Studies are being made at this moment. Now, they were may have used similar methods to shape spears around 300,000-year-old sites in Germany. The German tips come to much sharper points than the digging sticks at Poggetti Vecchi, but there's no physical evidence for the use of the flame. So this site in Germany, I don't know what site it is because they don't mention it here. I think it's in the study. I have linked the study in the description, the actual evidence. Unfortunately, it's behind a paywall. I can't link the non-paywalled one, but someone more enterprising, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You guys know what I mean when I say that. I don't condone pirating scientific studies, but they should be free. After all the studies have done, when they publish them, they should be free, because science has to expand. But now, getting on to it. So the German site with the heidelbergensis had spears shaped with fire 300,000 years ago, half as old, more or less. But we don't have the evidence of the flame on the actual spears that they found. So I'm surprising that they have found 300,000-year-old wooden sticks or spears, because wow, that also makes me excited. So that makes Poggetti Vecchi digging sticks the earliest clear examples of wooden tools shaped with fire. The German heidelbergensis ones are indirect evidence. This one's direct evidence. They show that early Neanderthals knew enough to choose the best wood for the tool. Yes, because boxwood is very strong, and clearly shows they had good intelligence. I'll just leave it at that. And they utilized both fire and stone tools in order to produce the finished tool. Yes, that requires planning. It takes a lot of planning, specific knowledge, and painstaking, precise work to pull that off. Yes, it does. Which demonstrate the sophistication of Neanderthal tool-making abilities. Every article I read like this, that just proves more how close to us they are. They are our, not just our cousins, they are a race of humans, H. sapiens neanderthalensis. We are also one, H. sapiens sapiens. So that's what real race is about, people, not any other thing. Now, what were the stone? I kept this till the end because digging sticks was a woman's implement. The Italian find also adds a chapter to the history of how humanity adapted and tamed fire. Yes, archaeologists are still aren't sure exactly exactly when and how humans first learned to use and control fire and then create it on their convenience. I've made a video way back last year detailing how our ancestors, basically H. erectus, had used fire about 800, 700,000, 600,000 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, because quite a while back. So Yeah, our lineage, HOMO lineage, I can't say the word, I'm sorry, have been using fire and possibly controlling fire for a long time, not just Neanderthals. Now, how they managed to make it? Did they make it, or did they acquire it and maintain it? That we don't know. Acquiring and maintaining is basically from brush fires, keeping always the heath burning, so would never need to light it again. But if you knew how to light it, you would not have to worry about that much. But there are ways to transport embers, by the way. And one day, when they make a study, which I can show you guys, and how they maintained or carried glowing embers across a territory, I will do that. I only work with, of course, with actual studies. Anyway, Poggetti Vecchi digging sticks may also be some of the earliest known tools used specifically by women. Yes, they are. In most modern hunter-gatherer cultures, digging sticks are women's tools, and young children's tools, and old people's tools, because there is a clear division of labour, but it's malleable. Of course, the women, who provided about 65% of the calorific intake. I don't have the study, but I know that from Stephen Jay Gould's data from the Australian Aborigines in his book. I'll probably link his book so you guys can read it. Provided about 65% of the calorific intake of the group from gathering small animals and foraging, while the males would provide the other 45% from the hunt. Now, the women just didn't forage alone or gathered alone. They had the young children, the boys, before they learned to hunt, or they would be learning to catching small animals to get their skill set correct. Then, of course, they would progress to helping the adult males, in the hunt for bigger animals. The old people, male or female, once they could not hunt or keep up with the hunters, etc., would just naturally forage with the women and the children, and possibly even teaching the young boys how to hunt, to the old ladies what the foods were edible, etc. So there was a community. It's not community. The group were basically an extended family, so very all closely related individuals. That was the smallest division of group of people you could have is. Let's call it a tribe, but a tribe is more extended. I like to use the term group, but that's me, so don't quote me on that. That is my personal, because I find tribe to be a little bit extended. So family, it's not even just a family group, it's an extended family group, even with some outsiders, of course, from marriage, etc., male or female, doesn't matter. That's the smallest division of group that you can get outside of an individual, obviously. So this shows that there was a woman's tools. There's nothing wrong with that. They provided a lot of the food and not just food, but also other materials. The males also provided materials for construction, for clothing, etc., etc. But the women also did that. So gathered firewood, etc., etc. So yes, the artifacts offer a new insight into Neanderthals' women's lives and work. We have good evidence from this, and it also indicates that the whole Neanderthal community, not just the all-male hunting party, we don't know. We don't know if they were all male hunting parties. We do not know. I don't like this assertion here. They could have been females accompanying the males to carry back food, etc. We don't know. We can't. There is a danger of transplanting our behaviour, modern H. sapiens behaviour, into the past, into ancient hominins. And it's also showed here about the fire making. Fire making thing. They used fire in a very precise, complex way. Yes, they did. And it says here, it's either an indication of how quickly our collective fire handling skills advanced, or a hint of that fire may have been older than first evidence we have so far. We know that fire use goes back to H. erectus, and so they are one of our oldest, more or less, ancestors, H. erectus. So I don't feel really comfortable with when they transpose or transplant our modern behaviors back then. There could be similarities. That is perfectly acceptable, but they are just that, similarities. They are not exactly or so. So, yep, that brings us to the end of our article, and just want to say hello to everyone. John, Liverpool's not winning enough, man. They need a few more goals. But anyway, thank you all for coming on. I'm going to end it here. We'll see when's the next one going to be at. So thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a good night. And hello Eon, hello Giovanna, hello Silurian, and who else? Oh, Beej, how are you, sweetie? And who else do we have? And Short Story Long, how are you, man, if you're still here? So there we go. 5 now, 5 zeros, 6. Make it 6. I'd love a 6. Anyway, guys, thank you for coming along, and see you till next time. Maybe Friday, maybe Monday. We'll see.